at Wedbush. As always, I appreciate you being here, Dan. Many people must have been asking you about ASML, including what it implies for the industry and your level of bullishness. Tell us about it from your point of view. Dan. In the end, that's the wrong side of the growth trade, therefore I do consider it noise. Take Intel, for example. Intel's ticker would appear if you search for disaster in a dictionary. To me then, it's all about riding the AI freight train, which is connected to Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Apple, as we usually discuss. On the chip side, I believe AMD as well, along with brands like Palantir. But you're going to have problems if you're driving a beat-up minivan in the wrong lane at 40 miles per hour. And that's where ASML appears. Investors will have an opportunity to feel reassured when Taiwan Semi is released tomorrow, because it naturally has a lot of business with Nvidia and is somewhat more exposed to the winners. Interviewer. How do you, as an analyst, assess that ecosystem to determine what is successful in the AI market? Dan. Indeed, and let's see. That's the reason we've traveled to Asia. What, twice in the past 7 weeks? They're not all winners, it seems. You must so distinguish between the trends, the winners, and the people you bet on. Since it has nothing to do with Nvidia, even yesterday's news that Nvidia was down on it presents a buying opportunity. We're discussing Intel and all things associated with that industry, which essentially consists of legacy chips. We spend a lot of time attempting to identify the second, third, and fourth derivatives of artificial intelligence because of this. Additionally, I believe that many of these names really generate opportunities whenever the bears emerge from hibernation and mod scare a few. Interviewer. Let's talk about the bulls and the possibility that they already exist. The Magnificent Seven was, I believe, the most crowded trade for the 19th consecutive month, according to a Bank of America poll. You know, they do the fund manager survey. You could argue that this is counterintuitive, but it also raises the question of whether there are dip buyers because everyone is already invested. Dan. Look, you've got $7 trillion sitting on the sidelines, and I can tell you that every day, investors throughout the world are skeptical. Valuation, is the trade done? It's still there, is AI hype? I'm not arguing that it's not a crowded trade, but I think that in a year, as I stated 6 months ago, the market capitalizations of Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft will be between $3 and $4 trillion. And the fact that we are only in the first or second inning of the game, in my opinion, is what motivates all of that. In my opinion, we are in the early stages of this A trade from a hockey standpoint. For this reason, I believe that the IT market will continue to grow well into 2025 and possibly 2026. At the A party, which is scheduled to last until 4 o'clock am, it is 9 o'clock p.m. The important thing is that this is only a temporary setback that, in my opinion, won't last long. Together with Apple and Microsoft, the godfather of AI, Jensen and Nvidia will have market capitalizations of $3.4 trillion in a year. The interviewer. Then, let's discuss price targets. I suppose you should be more aggressive with yours and see where it goes. Why don't you let yourself be a little more free? Dan. The bull case costs $200, you see. And if you really look at how this all works out, I believe that Jensen and Nvidia are only getting started with their ongoing monetization. And I believe that during the next 6 to 9 months, everything will revolve on the second, third, and fourth derivatives of AI. Interviewer. Since the AI chip darling has clearly received a lot of attention, let's discuss a little bit more about Nvidia. Dan, you referred to the CEO, Jensen Huang, as the godfather of AI. However, godfathers are frequently the subject of criticism. In terms of the entire semiconductor market, how much of a target is Nvidia at the moment? Dan, you see, they're a target, but since we're in their world, everyone else is paying their rent. Their chips and GPUs, in particular, are the new gold and oil, as we have observed on all of our excursions to Asia. The godfather of AI, Jensen, and Nvidia are on the summit of the AI Mount Rushmore, along with Nadella and other aspirants. They're far ahead of the competition, though. There will be fluctuations. I believe that the market capitalizations of Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia will be between $3 and $4 trillion in a year. Regarding viewing the forest through the trees, as Jensen has discussed throughout the year, you should focus on the overall direction rather than the weekly or quarterly fluctuations. The interviewer: Dan, what do you think Nvidia's future holds? You've mentioned a bunch of times that the run seems to have legs. What causes Nvidia to shift from the increase we've witnessed in recent months to a more stable state? Dan, These are only the beginning of the usage scenarios. Therefore, when you look at the figures, the street is still lagging behind where the numbers are going and where the demand is. People may remark, oh, it's hype, and stocks may decline, but demand ultimately determines the outcome. In baseball terminology, we're still at the top of the second or bottom of the first in terms of where everything is going. When it comes to those chips, they are the only show in town. This is why I think they're still defying expectations, displaying numbers that, in my opinion, are astounding. The rest of technology is currently being affected by the second, third, and fourth derivatives. If you make any changes, please let me know. Not covered by me. Nvidia is fairly reliable. However, except than that, you're correct. For example, with all of Apple's harsh remarks this week, there are still a lot of unanswered concerns. I believe that Apple is still experiencing anxiety as a result of the somber day and the previous remarks that somewhat countered some of the encouraging China sales statistics. Additionally, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang stated in a recent interview that he sees the company deploying 100 million AI agents in the future. The rivalry between Salesforce and Microsoft is currently being closely observed, particularly due to the vast amounts of enterprise data that both businesses own. Earlier this week, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella predicted that AI agents would eventually be just as commonplace as apps. Salesforce has already introduced its agents via the digital help platform called Agentforce. So, have we abandoned Intel? We shall see. On Thursday, they released their earnings. We'll see what they have to say, I suppose. However, it's obvious that Intel's core business is facing pressure. They are actually outsourcing more since they are losing market share and are currently unable to rely on their own manufacturing, which is having an effect on gross margins and other things. They therefore propose that they think their processed roadmap is being fixed over time. It will make everything, amazing when they bring that volume back to the United States. We'll see, I suppose. It truly was a 2030 narrative, right? A few months ago, they were sort of laying out some goals for where they believe things could go in the future. Even if they are on course, there is still a long way to go before things start to get better. Furthermore, we are now unsure of whether or not they are genuinely getting better. I suppose you should buckle up for Thursday. At the very least, I'm sure it will be entertaining. Yes, Stacy, we won't be getting Nvidia for a while. However, I'm sure you hear this more than I do. Well, there's a small company over here that's developing a next-generation chip that's going to force Nvidia to the side or disintermediate in the long run. In other words, how long do you anticipate their dominance will last? After all, there's always someone waiting. You do realize that this market is huge. It is absurd to think that there won't be anyone else vying for a piece of that pie. They are, of course. So over the course of 10 or 20 years, Nvidia has established a strong presence in silicon, hardware, software, systems, and ecosystem, correct? Additionally, they have installed those moat portion of Nvidia at this time.